To right-click on Mac from your trackpad, you can click with 2 fingers and it brings up a sub-menu. If I just click the icon with 1 finger, it opens the application. And then if I click with 2 fingers, I get a sub-menu. To change the behavior of your alternate click, you go to System Preferences, and if you have a trackpad, you open that option. And if you have a magic mouse, you could open that option. So like if you look at trackpad settings here in this article, you can set how firmly you have to press the trackpad. Like you can just tap it, for example. And then the secondary click, or alternate click as I commonly call it, is the setting where you can configure the right click option. If you wanted to, you could force control click to do the alternate click like I just did here. So that's what the alternate click would look like, the secondary click. And that's how you configure your mouse on the Mac, and I'll see you in the next video. I want to talk to you about a change that came about in the Ventura version of macOS. There was a pretty significant change in that System Preferences became System Settings. So when I open this, it now looks a lot more like you would expect to see on an Apple iOS device, like an iPhone, for example. Under General, you can see that I've got tabs like find out about the computer, and I can use the software update feature to stay up to date on bug fixes and releases and that type of thing. And if I come over here to Desktop and Dock, that's where you're going to see a lot of those settings where you can adjust where the dock lives and different features that dictate the behavior of the dock. It's less visual than the System Preferences look and feel was. It's just a little bit different in terms of the way it's laid out, but all the same features are still here. So like if I go down to mouse, that's where I would be able to control gestures and settings like that. Because I'm on a traditional mouse, I don't see those same settings, but if I pop over to this knowledge article, you'll see that this article in particular talks about how to right-click on a Mac, and that's a Windows term. Mac calls it secondary click, so like an alternate click. So if I left click and drag over this, I can highlight text, for example. But if I right click or alternate click, secondary click, in other words, I get this sub menu. So now I can look up, control click, I can search Google for that term. I can open it in reading mode and so forth. And you can see on this image here that if I had a magic mouse, and if I were to click the top right portion of the magic mouse, it would perform that secondary click behavior. And you can change that setting as well. So from the drop down here, you can choose a different setting to get that behavior to appear. So if I scroll down and I look at trackpad, you'll see that this is by default set to that 2-finger click. And again, if I want to change that behavior, I can click the selection here in the secondary click menu item. So this gives you an idea of how you can control things in system settings. This article is great because you can drill into, what all the different settings mean. So it tells you like quiet click. If you don't want your trackpad to make a sound when you click it, you could turn that on or off. I'll include a link to this knowledge article. And if you have any questions, I encourage you to explore it. But really, I just wanted to call out that system settings is different than system preferences, starting with the Ventura version of macOS. So any modern version you have now is going to look more like what you see on my screen right now. And, one big call out for Sequoia, for example, is the introduction of Apple Intelligence. So this is where you can configure Siri, you can turn on ChatGPT and then dictate how that behaves. And I encourage you to read the Apple Intelligence and Privacy document because this talks more about how the Apple Intelligence operates. And if you wanted to read more about the ChatGPT version, you can read the OpenAI terms of use. And in there, there's an option to opt out of data collection, for example. If you don't want what you put into the AI chat feature to be used to train the AI models, for example, this is how you can opt out of that stuff if you so choose. All right, thank you so much for watching.